Okay, so we're going to take a look at the inspector for audio. Particularly, we're going to take a look at the pitch shift option because that is something that is quite useful for our Okay, so we're going to take a look at the inspector for audio. Particularly, we're going to take a look at the pitch shift option because that is something that is quite useful for our Foley and our sound design. But we are also going to take a look at creating a looping room tone as well. So we're going to take a look at effects, the inspector, and applying audio transitions. So the first thing I want to show you is how the inspector is a little bit different to audio. Now we've covered this under volume controls, but we also have the clip pan and clip pitch options as well. Volume is self-explanatory, the loudness of the audio, and as we drag this up and down we can see, if I zoom in on the waveform down here, and all you need to do is click and drag on the joining line between two tracks there. If you then want to bring it up or down, you can see how the waveform reacts in real time. But down here we also have clip pitch, and shifting pitch is quite important for sound design because depending on the microphone that's been used, you don't necessarily get the right kind of quality of sound. Maybe a whoosh is too high pitched, maybe a clank or a clattering noise is too high pitched and you need to drop it a little bit in order for it to fit in to your mix, in order for it to fit in to the rest of your sound design. And the clip pitch up here, when we open up the inspector having an audio item selected, is where we can do that. Now if you have linked selection on, that's the chain here, remember, the inspector will actually default to which part of the clip that you click on first. And you can click between the green brick of audio and the blue brick for video to switch back and forth between the two options on your inspector, or alternatively you can click on the video heading or on the audio heading to switch between the two. So clip pitch adjusts the pitch of the audio, and that means how high or how deep the audio sounds to us. If I increase the pitch, it sounds very high, like helium or chipmunk voice kind of effect. So if I drag the semitones up to the right, we will see that this line is now quite amusing.
Let's make that flabbiness fabulous.
So I wouldn't recommend doing this in any extreme capacity to dialogue. One thing you need to be aware of when shifting pitch like this is that you can also make the room tone sound very odd as well. If I increase the pitch and then listen to this, and I encourage you to do the same just now on your own project,
Make that flabbiness fabulous.
there's a kind of weird echoey hissing noise, and what's going on in the background is also affected by this. So you do need to watch out for kind of room tone and background noise when you're shifting pitch. More often than not, what we do is we'd use this to change the pitch of a sound effect. So if I go into my audio, I've got my whooshes here, and I will show you where to find all of these in the next few lectures. So there's a nice whoosh noise, but it's a little bit low. So what I can do is, let's just say I want to add a whoosh on this edit. It's not going to work creatively, but this is just a bit of a demonstration.
Tempo. Let's make.
So we can use a whoosh to kind of accentuate an edit in comedy sometimes. You don't want to go overboard with adding whooshes on camera moves and cuts, because otherwise you end up with quite annoying, hyperkinetic, very energetic but not very funny kind of a thing going on. It's easy to go overboard. But this whoosh, for me, is a little bit low, so I'm just going to increase the pitch by maybe 2 semitones and a few cents. You can go further with the cents.
Let's make.
And that just helps
Let's.
change the character of the sound effect we're using. So this is a very common practice here. Cool, so that's the clip pitch and pan and volume. Pan, on the other hand, there is a lecture on what we call the panning law, but pan lets me change which side of a pair of stereo speakers the audio is playing on. So I can drag this to the left even.
Make that flabbiness flabbiness fabulous.
and it comes out of only the left speaker. I can drag it to the right,
Let's make that flabbiness fabulous.
and it will come out of only the right speaker. There are occasional uses for panning, and in our actual sound mix, I'm going to get some either road noise or a siren or maybe an airplane flyover, and we'll make it pan from one side to the next to make it sound like something really is, you know, flying or moving in 3D space, and it adds just a nice little bit of depth and kind of quality of space to our audio mix. So now what we're going to do to finish off is we're going to take a look at making what we call a looping room tone, and that's a technique where we can take the background noise of a recording and use it to fill in silence, or we can use it to help keep our film in the same location in audio terms, because if we cut between these two angles,
Maintain the tempo. Let's make that.
if you listen closely, we've got all of the noise back here of the exercise bikes going off, yeah? But as we cut to this one, that stops very abruptly, and that's a problem.
Maintain the tempo. Let's make that flabbiness fabulous.
Once you know it's there, that's an issue, right? So we need to take this audio and make it kind of loop across and play through the background and tie these two clips together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unlink my selection. I'm going to hit B for blade, and I'm going to cut this bit off here. I'm going to go back to A for select, and I'm going to drag this down into this stereo track. Now, I immediately have a problem with mono audio being in a stereo track, because by default a mono track, well, a mono audio item will only play out of the left speaker of a stereo track. So I need to change this into a stereo clip, and I can cheat this. It's not ideal, but this is what we have to work with, so we will make this work. I'm going to right click. I'm going to then choose clip attributes, and on the audio section it's going to say format, and at the moment it will be mono because it is a mono recording. I'm going to choose stereo, and here I have source channel, track audio 1, channel in track left, so that's why it's currently only playing out of the left channel. I need to set the second drop down menu to also play embedded channel 1, because embedded channel 1 is just our audio recording, our mono audio recording. I now have the same thing playing out of both channels, and if I hit OK and now I play it back, the same noise is playing out of both headphones, out of both speakers. So that's how we overcome that issue. Now the next thing I want to do is probably shrink this down a little bit, and I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to stretch this out, because what I want to do is try and cut it without there being a pedal noise on there. So there's a little trough here where if we look in very close, there's kind of a flat point down here, and that's a sign to me that this is quiet at this point, so I'm going to trim it to that point. I'll turn snapping back on to make that easier. And now what I actually want to do is I want to copy and paste this next to itself. So I'm going to select it and hit Control or Command and C, and then I just need to position the playhead and hit Control or Command and V. And if it helps you feel better, you can activate this track for source patch so you know it's going to the right place, but it does remember where the audio came from when you first copied it. Now let's listen to this a little bit. So those two do cut together more or less seamlessly now, but I want to make absolutely sure, and in order to get this right, what I want to do is I want to fade them into each other. So I need to open up my effects library in order to apply an audio effect. I need to click on the magic wand icon up here to reveal my effects library, and I can also click on the media pool icon up here to hide my media pool and give me more space when working with my effects library. Now, there's a lecture on the panning law, and in it states that if two identical signals are played on top of each other, they get 3 decibels louder. What that means is if we fade two identical bits of audio together with a linear fade, it's going to get quiet in the middle. So if I add a standard crossfade 0 decibels here, what should happen is that it will get quieter in the middle between the two. And there's a very slight drop in volume and then it comes back. And that's because the fade is linear, but decibels are nonlinear and logarithmic. It gets quite involved. The practical takeaway here is we add a crossfade plus 3 decibels when we're fading two identical bits of audio together. And now, if we listen to this, it will be absolutely fine. So we now have our copied and pasted looping room tone, and I just want this to continue to the end. And what I will do is I can click on my actual transition icon down here. I can click and drag this to extend the timing of my transition out. Once it's selected like this, I can click it and Control or Command and C. And then if I click on another edit point and make sure both sides are selected, I can just Command V and I can paste the transition there. And what this helps me do is it keeps me consistent throughout, and I might just make them a little bit shorter because I need some more space. So I've now got my room tone, however we have a bit of an issue.
Come on, Wayne, maintain the tempo. Let's make that.
Whilst we do have our room tone back here, and that's good, the room tone initially came from this recording. And remember what happens when two very similar sounds are played at the same time. They get 3 decibels louder. Knowing this, we have to drop the room tone back here by 3 decibels as this clip comes in. So what I need to do is I need to get the blade tool out, and I'm going to place a split underneath these edit points, and we're going to move these around a little bit to finesse this. So here's what I want to do. I want to place my plus 3 crossfades on these 2 edit points. I then want to select this middle audio recording here. I want to go into the inspector and I want to drop the volume by 3 decibels. I want to type in -3 in there. Because now, when I take this down and this is layered back on top of it, it should be fairly consistent. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to roll these back just a little bit, just so it's not so obvious what is going on, and let's listen to this.
Come on, Wayne, maintain the tempo.
And what I might actually do is drag this back and crossfade it in a little bit as well.
Come on, Wayne, maintain the tempo.
Okay, there's a little clicking noise here. Let's solo and see if we can find out where that's coming from.
Come on, Wayne.
Okay, so there's a little clicking noise there, so maybe I'll get rid of that and I'll just trim it right down.
Come on, Wayne, maintain the tempo. Let's make that flabbiness fabulous.
And that's much better, that's much more natural. We can play around with the timing so that we don't get like 4 sets of pedal noises very suddenly, but I don't think that's too easy to hear. So now,
come on, Wayne, maintain the tempo. Let's make that flabbiness.
We've even got the room tone back here.
Let's make that flabbiness fabulous.
And that really helps us tie everything together. Now I hear a little click every now and again. No, that's fine. So it must be
Come
up
on,
here.
Wayne. Come on, Wayne. Come on.
It appears to be here. So maybe what I'll do is I'll slip this audio around to get rid of that click. Just activate trim edit and then drag to slip the timing.
Come on, Wayne, maintain the tempo. Let's make that flat.
And I might just have to go through with the slip tool and try and get rid of any little irritating things like that little clicking noise that was coming through. But I've now got my looping room tone and I can tie these locations together, or these 2 shots together, much better than just having that sudden cut out from the background noise that we had before. So we have covered quite a lot in this lecture. We've done the pitch shift up here, and then we've done the looping room tone trick and the +3 decibels crossfade. This is all going to be very useful. We're going to use these tricks a lot during our sound edit, so click on through to the next lecture once you're ready.